name's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about the Series 12 contestants of Taskmaster. So obviously this was announced after the series finale of Series 11. So this video is just going to be about the contestants, so kind of like what their personality and comedic style is like, anything you can watch to kind of familiarise yourselves with them if you want to before the series starts, and also anything that I think might prove as an advantage or just anything interesting about them that I think might come up in Taskmaster. But yeah, let's just get straight into the video. So first up is the amazing Alan Davies, who I believe is somebody that people have wanted to go on Taskmaster for a while now, and I've wanted him to be on Taskmaster. So I'm very excited about Alan Davies. So he is a stand-up comedian, actor and presenter. So I would say his personality and comedic style is very observational, bit of improv in there as well. And surreal, I've seen people describe him as having quite a surreal sense of humour, and yeah, he's very, very funny. So let's talk a bit about his career and what you can watch to get to know him a bit better. So like most comedians, he did start off in stand-up, and this was in around 1988, and in 1991 he actually won the Time Out's Best Young Comic, and then later won the Edinburgh Festival's Critics Award for Comedy in 1994. So in 1994 and then in 1995 he hosted a lot of radio shows, including Alan's Big One, which was on Radio 1, and then he played the title role on TV in a show called Jonathan Creek. So he obviously played Jonathan Creek, and this is a show like a supernatural mystery drama. It's really, really good, and he plays like a magician, and then he uses that to kind of like solve crimes, and it's really, really cool, and like solve mysteries and everything. And this ran between 1997 and 2004, with then some specials afterwards. And it really is a show that brought that threw Davies into the public view, and he gained a lot of attention and acclaim for his role in this show. So then in 2003, Alan Davies went on to be in QI, which is probably where most people know him from. It's where I first knew him from. And yeah, really, really cool, really, really good show. So it's a comedy panel quiz show where literally the points make no sense, which I think might be an advantage for Alan Davies and Taskmaster, because sometimes Greg's scoring literally makes no sense either. QI features 4 comedians, and one of them is always Alan Davies. He is a permanent contestant, I think only missing 1 episode. And so originally Stephen Fry, but now Sandy Toksvig, they ask the comedians questions, and they're often tricky. The obvious answer is probably never the right answer. So I think it's a really, really good show, and again, you just kind of got that feel of just comedians sitting, chatting, making jokes, and just learning something interesting. And yeah, it's really cool. Alan Davies on this show tends to not be afraid to lose points in order to be funny, and I think that's really, really good. Many Taskmaster alumni have featured on QI, including Greg Davies, Desiree Birch and Victoria Mitchell, who are all in, obviously, this series of Taskmaster. I mean, Greg Davies is in all of them. Then in 2016 he starred in a sitcom called Damned, which was created by Joe Brand, and it's about a sitcom in a local office of like the child services department, like social services. Obviously created by Joe Brand. Joe Brand also stars in it alongside Izzy Sooty, and Lolly Adefope is in series 2. And then he created Alan Davies's As Yet Untitled. So with this show, Alan sits down with 4 other guests, mainly comedians, in kind of an unscripted roundtable discussion. Obviously, as the title says, it's not yet titled, so the purpose of the episode is they just basically just chat, have a laugh, have a good time, and at the end they decide on a title for that episode. There have been so many people who've been on Taskmaster that have been on Alan Davies's As Yet Untitled. I believe around 34 contestants have been on Alan Davies' show, so he's definitely very familiar with the contestants that would be on. So Alex Horne and Victoria Mitchell have been on this show. Yeah, he's got a really, really good connection with loads of comedians, so I reckon he will get on really, really well with everybody on the show. I mean, he's talked to pretty much all of them. So some bonus facts. So in the Taskmaster podcast, Alex Horne did say that Alan Davies struggled at the beginning to kind of get used to the show, and he even questioned whether he was suited for it. But he did say that he did come along towards the end, so hopefully we don't see him kind of like struggle too much and dislike it, because that's really not that fun to watch. He's also a vegetarian and a strong animal activist, so hopefully They do not mess up with like feeding him meat products like they did with Lee Mack. So next up is Desiree Birch, and I didn't actually know her until she was announced for Series 12, but she is an American comedian and TV presenter, host of some shows as well. So personality, comedic style, she's been described as having a brash and energetic comedy style and making raw and gutsy work. So she's got a couple of really good, like critically acclaimed stand-up shows. So there's 52 Man Pickup and Tar Baby, and she actually won the 2015 Funny Woman Stage Award for her stand-up, and then the 2015 Fringe First for new writing at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So despite being from America, she's actually lived in the UK for quite a while and has appeared in a lot of UK panel and comedy shows. So she's appeared on Live at the Apollo, QI, The MASH Report, Frankie Boyle's New World Order, Mock the Week, and Richard Osman's House of Games, just to name a few. So she also hosts a physical game show called Flinch, which is available on Netflix. So this is alongside Sean Walsh and Lloyd Griffith. So this game show sees contestants undertake terrifying games, like literally things like falling at them and being shocked and stuff. And if they flinch, then they get a painful consequence. And the hosts, so Sean Walsh, Lloyd Griffith, and of course Desiree Birch, they each choose a player to represent them in the games. And then the contestant who flinches the least is declared the winner of the show. So yeah, physical game show. I've never really seen much like this, and looking at the show, like I don't know how that's allowed to get made, because they literally do like electric shock them and everything, but man, I don't know. It's quite fun. She's very energetic and very kind of loud, but she doesn't kind of take over. I think she's got that good mix of being that loud presence that she naturally has, but also not kind of being obnoxiously loud. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. Definitely check out that game show. I do wonder whether she would take the things in that show and use them in Taskmaster. So she also put in a game show that I haven't heard about that seems really fun. So it's called I'll Get This, which sees a group of comedians sit down and like eat dinner together, but they have to put their bank cards in the middle, and then they do games to win their card back. The person who didn't win their card back has to pay for the meal. Yeah, there's been loads of comedians that's been on this, and I believe it was a BBC show. I can't find the full episodes anywhere for the life of me. But I believe Ed Gamble went on it, and he actually lost despite doing really well on Taskmaster, and she didn't lose her episode. So it'd be interesting to see, like she's obviously quite good at the games and stuff. And if you've watched the Netflix reality TV show Hot to Handle, you may recognise her voice, as she was the presenter or narrator of it. So yeah, you might recognise her voice from there. Bonus facts. So this one's quite interesting. So before going into comedy, she actually worked as a dominatrix, which I would think, you know, a very strong person is needed to play that kind of role. And I'm not sure how much kind of that job would reflect on your character, but I would imagine, yeah, you'd have to be kind of strong and naturally dominant, since that's kind of what the role there entails. So I'm not sure whether she would kind of take a very dominant personality. I don't want to kind of say that obviously that work reflects on the person all the time, because obviously it doesn't. Like, you are basically playing a role, I'd imagine. So yeah, so I'm not sure how much it would actually link to her own personality. So next up is Gus Khan, and he is a comedian and actor. He is very just kind of like naturally funny, and just like a naturally funny presence. And quoting Andy Milligan, who is his writer on one of his shows, and he also wrote for Anton Deck, he said, "Gus is very generous with his time on set and knows everyone's names. We all know self-centered performers, but Gus could not be further from that. He seems very friendly, very nice, and I wonder how that would play in Taskmaster. Like, I doubt he's going to take on the roles that like James Acaster and Jamali did, where they hated Alex Horne. I imagine he's going to be a lot like friendlier and like bubbly personality. However, Andy Milligan did say that he is always late and never answers his phone, so he might kind of be a bit more, not unreliable, I don't mean that in a bad way, but kind of maybe a bit all over the place, or I don't know, it's really hard to try and tell. But his comedic style is kind of like satirical, and yeah, I don't know how to describe him apart from just like naturally hilarious. So he actually worked as a humanities teacher before starting his career in comedy, which is mentioned quite a lot when he kind of talks about his career. And so he started producing YouTube videos and Facebook videos, and these went absolutely viral. So I strongly recommend watching his YouTube video about like boycotting the film Jurassic World. Basically, he's going on a satirical rant about how the name for one of the dinosaurs, shortened down, sounds like the racial slur that's used against people of Pakistani descent, and it genuinely is absolutely hilarious. Like, the guy behind the camera is like laughing his head off the entire time. Like, it's really funny, and this video went viral. It got picked up by people in America, like news people in America. Then he got cast in a show called Borderline, which I strongly recommend. So it's a mockumentary like sitcom. It takes place in a small little airport, and he plays one of the baggage handlers, and a lot of people who watch the show say that the baggage handlers are some of the best like moments in the shows, even though that they're not the main characters, they're kind of like secondary characters. So you've got the main people up in the airport, and then I would say most episodes then you get clips of the baggage handlers, and honestly they're hilarious. And one thing I didn't know before researching was that the entire thing it's not scripted. So they'll get a general plot and then they're just kind of told to improvise the entire time, which must be insanely difficult, and I genuinely did not know that. So yeah, I think that just really proves how hilarious all the cast are in that show, and all of it's available on Netflix, so I definitely recommend watching it. So Steve Coogan's production company picked up on his character Mobeen and his just general personality and comedy style, and they commissioned a series called Man Like Mobeen, which Gus Khan writes and stars in. So Harriet Finch Little described the first series as an exceptionally funny character comedy that spins jokes with a subtlety that's rare for such a young writer. It's also been described as, this isn't just one of the funniest sitcoms of recent times, it may also be one of the most important because of the way they deal with a lot of issues. Yeah, they deal with a lot of things like knife crime and kind of like systemic racial issues. It's generally really good, and it really, like, it's insane how quickly his career has grown, and I think that is just shows how brilliant and how hilarious he is. So despite his career only starting in 2014, he already works with insanely talented and high-profile comedians and actors. So there's a British comedy series called Turn Up Charlie, which is created by and stars Idris Elba. But then he also appears in Mindy Kaling's 12-part remake of Four Weddings and a Funeral. Again, insane. Like, these are such like impressive like achievements to be making so early in his career. So similar to lots of comedians, he's appeared on so many UK panel and comedy shows such as The Last Leg, Big Zoo's Big Eats, The Russell Howard Hour, and he also voices some characters on Spitting Image. So for bonus facts and things that I think would help him in Taskmaster, so as I mentioned before, he is an ex-teacher, so he might get on with Greg as they had that in common, and they both reference that a lot. And they both did appear on Would I Lie to You together. They were really funny together, and especially he also talked to Lee Mack quite a lot, and they just got on so well, and he made everybody laugh. Like, it's genuinely hilarious. So the penultimate contestant is Morgana Robinson, who is an impressionist, comedy writer and actress. Her personality is quite hard to determine due to the fact that she is pretty much always in character, so much so that I didn't realise that I had actually watched her on comedy shows because she was in a character. But yeah, she talks a lot about how that kind of impacts her own personality. I feel like she's genuinely just kind of like funny when she wants to be, you know, with her impressions, but then she's also got that just really funny personality naturally in the way she comes across on camera and everything. But I would say if you want to get a real grasp of her personality, watch the her episode on Travel Man with Rich Daiwadi, because like I think that is the most that I've seen her in. What, like, I haven't watched everything of hers, but I think that is what you kind of get a genuine sense of her character, and she is just like naturally just hilarious, and yeah, it's genuinely just really funny. So she was actually born in Australia but moved to England when she was 3, so she's very much got an English sense of humour. So she started off in TV in 2007. She played an Eastern European internet bride in BBC One comedy The Green Grass. Again, her career did take off quite quickly, so she appeared in the TNT show, which is a sketch show. So in 2010, Channel 4 commissioned a 5-part comedy sketch series called The Morgana Show. So very quickly in her career, she's already got a show all about her, which is incredible. And yeah, as I said before, it's a sketch show, so a mix of original characters and celebrity impressions, and they described her as being a fresh performer with a huge amount of potential, and I definitely think she lived up to that potential. So some of the celebrities that she impersonates, so we've got Cheryl Cole, Danny Minogue, Fern Cotton, Lady Gaga, and even Boris Johnson, and it's genuinely hilarious. She continued the success of the sketch comedy style and the impersonations of celebrities in the show Very Important People. Again, a sketch comedy show. Only 6 episodes of this on Channel 4 in 2012. Again, lots of impressions of celebrities throughout that show. Then again, so this is a mockumentary, which I love mockumentaries, and it's Morgana Robinson's The Agency. So it's looks at a fictional talent agency called Man Management, and Morgana Robinson plays multiple characters and does loads of celebrity impressions in this as well. So she was also cast in The Windsors, which is a sitcom based around the royal family. And yeah, it's all like very satirical, it's very, very funny. And she plays Pippa Middleton, who's Kate Middleton's sister. So for bonus fact, she actually studied sculpture at City and Guilds in South London. So yeah, that's really interesting. So she's obviously got a creative background, so it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out in the creative tasks on Taskmaster. Yeah, very, very creative, and I think we're probably going to see some sort of impression on Taskmaster at some point, so it'll be very interesting when that happens. So the last contestant in Series 12 is the amazing Victoria Corinne Mitchell, and she is a writer, presenter and professional poker player. So for her personality and comedic, or more rather presenting style, so first of all, she is incredibly smart, like genuinely, like insanely smart. And her presenting style is described as being very dry and sarcastic in terms of humour. And then she also mocks herself and like contestants and stuff as well. So yeah, she's again not afraid to really mock herself, which I think is quite a good thing needed on Taskmaster. So she's got quite a few careers that we need to talk about. So there's her poker career. So she was the first woman to win an event at the European Poker Tour, and then the first player to ever win both a televised professional tournament and a televised celebrity tournament, and then the first player to win 2 European Poker Tour main events. And then as of 2018, she'd won almost $2.5 million from winning from poker tournaments. I strongly recommend watching her appearance on Would I Lie to You. She's been on it quite a few times, but she's so good at working out when they're lying. Like, I genuinely could not believe it. So she has had quite a good writing career, actually starting at the age of 14 when she won a competition to be featured in the Daily Telegraph. And she actually then continued to write for the Daily Telegraph after. So she's published multiple books. So these are Love 16, Once More with Feeling, and For Richer, For Poorer, A Love Affair with Poker. So she hosts the comedy talk show Heresy, which is a BBC Radio 4 show. And it was originally hosted by David Baddiel, but it's now hosted by Victoria Corinne Mitchell. So what they do on this show is they get a panel of guests and they get them to commit heresy by challenging people's most deeply received opinions on a subject in front of a studio audience. So it's kind of like debating things, but it's funny. Yeah, really, really good. And then what she's probably most known for is hosting the quiz show Only Connect, which is kind of like notorious for being one of the hardest quiz shows. I would say the only one that really beats it is University Challenge. So basically you find connections between like things that you wouldn't expect to be connected at all. Like, yeah, generally really, really good. Again, she has been on a lot of UK comedy panel shows. So Have I Got News For You, Would I Lie To You, QI, Room 101, 8 out of 10 Cats, and Cats Does Countdown. I cannot wait to see how she is on Taskmaster because she's the only like non-comedian, but she's still really, really funny as well. So I think it's worth mentioning that she actually pulled off quite an elaborate hoax when she tricked a bunch of people who were crashing funerals. So she put like a notice of a funeral of a fake person, and created this fake funeral with a grieving like boyfriend and stuff. It's just insane. And they were actually going to put laxatives in the food so that the people that were crashing funerals would eat the laxatives. But instead they didn't actually do that, and they called them and called out who they were and everything, which is quite impressive. So quite elaborate. I don't know. I think she's going to be one to look out for, definitely. In fact, I can't decide who I think is going to do really well this series because I feel like it genuinely could be anybody. I think they're all going to be hilarious, and a lot of people who have been to the tapings of it have said, you know, we've got something good to look forward to. So yeah, I cannot wait. So that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found it somewhat helpful to get to know the contestants a bit more, because I personally didn't know as many on this series as I did last series. So it was really interesting to me to kind of like look them up, research them, watch things that they've been in. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!